So in the War Scroll, it mentions Ham's sons, which are Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. Now we know from scripture, from canonized scripture, it tells us that Ham is the father of Canaan. It tells us that in a couple of places. So because it mentioned it in the War Scroll, I wanted to talk about this again. This is something actually that I talked about in June of 2021, about a month after I started my videos on the Rumble channel. This is something that you will not hear from mainstream theology. You're not going to hear this from the pulpit because this isn't something that pastors have understanding of. This isn't something that, because a lot of pastors don't read the Bible, but when you're reading and you see these things, you're just taken aback by what we're going to find. So for purposes, so we can kind of get through this, I'm going to do a little bit of a summary, but we know that it tells us in Genesis 9:18, now the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Then immediately it tells us that Ham was the father of Canaan. Then it goes on to say, these three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was populated. So it doesn't tell us about Shem's lineage. It doesn't tell us about Japheth's lineage, but it tells us that Ham was the father of Canaan. Now, I'm going to summarize here for time purposes, but we know that there's a vineyard and that Noah has a little bit too much to drink. And so he becomes drunk and he is uncovered in the tent. It says, and then in verse 22, it says this, and Ham, the father of Canaan, again saw the nakedness of his father, and he told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. So Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him, and he said, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants, he shall be to his brethren. And he said, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant, and may God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. So Noah is cursing Canaan. We know that there's nakedness of the father, and you're thinking to yourself, what's the big deal? They're all men. The anatomy, the physiology, it's all the same. What's the big deal? Well, scripture tells us in Leviticus that the nakedness of the father is the nakedness of the mother. So Ham was not a very good son, and there was an incestuous relationship with his mother. And we're going to look at this, and I know maybe you've never heard this before, but it's important to understand because Noah curses Canaan. Canaan's descendants go to Sodom and Gomorrah. Cush, his other sibling, those descendants go to Babel. You can look that stuff up in Genesis 10, in Genesis 11, but let's get to these passages here in Leviticus that speak about the nakedness of the father is the nakedness of the mother. So let's start here in Leviticus 18, verse 7. Actually, I'm going to start in 6. Here's what it says. None of you shall approach anyone who is near of kin to him to uncover his nakedness. I am the Lord. The nakedness of your father or the nakedness of your mother you shall not uncover. She is your mother. You shall not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your father's wife you shall not uncover. It is your father's nakedness. Let's go on to Leviticus 20, verse 11. Here's what it says. It says this, the man who lies with his father's wife has uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. So when we see these passages in Leviticus, it certainly makes the passages from Genesis, it makes that more clear. This is why Ham and Shem walked backwards. This is why they didn't see anything. So because it was mentioned in the War Scroll, I thought this would be a perfect time to talk about this again, even though it's a troubling subject, but we know that Canaan, his father was Ham. Scripture tells us that in the canonized scriptures. Okay, from now on, the rest of the things in the War Scroll are going to be on topics and subjects, but I wanted to bring this to you as well. Armor Up, we write at Dawn. May God bless you as always. Have a great day.